Welcome back to the channel. Aaron here from the Bitcoin Bros. Gonna be bringing you guys back up to speed everything that's been going on in the Bitcoin strategy market here over the past day. We can see strategy was up here 6% at 358. Basically, what happened, if you guys didn't see our last video, Jerome Powell came out and he was very dovish, and it's looking like we're gonna get a interest rate reduction in the next Fed meeting, potentially 25 to 50 basis points. So right now, 25 basis points is what's expected. We could potentially get more going in later into the year. So the whole market rallied after that conversation with Jerome Powell. But you can see strategy was up and MNAV increased a little bit here. If you look at strategy tracker, we can see MNAV is a little bit up from the bottoms at around 1.40x. So strategy looking decent here, having a little bit of a rebound. Nothing too crazy as of right now. But if we look at where strategy is in the top US market cap companies, they're sitting at 104. They jumped 7 spots on Friday because of the pump in Bitcoin. Strategy pumped up 7%, so they went up to 104. And we have a potential inclusion coming in September for strategy to be included in the S&P. That would be huge for strategy. And that'd be huge for the entire Bitcoin market, because then the passive S&P flows that go in from, just everyday 401k investors or people investing with their 401k plans with their jobs, are some of that's now going to be going to strategy. And that means that these people will be buying Bitcoin unknowingly, and they're going to be buying it through strategy. And Coinbase is already in the S&P. So there's another company that owns Bitcoin that is getting some passive funds as well. But strategy, if the stock price goes up, they probably will tap that ATM to use that money to go buy more BTC. That is just my thoughts on what they will do if they get included in the S&P in September. And they may not get in September. We got to wait and see, maybe later in the year or potentially even next year. So that's definitely not out of the cards either. But a lot of people mad about the strategy price action. 5 years ago, MSTR adopted the Bitcoin standard. Since then, we've outperformed every asset class, every Magnificent Seven stock. So Bitcoin standard era return annualized over the past years, you can see Bitcoin was at around 58% and strategy at 95%, doing about double of what Bitcoin did over the past 5 years. And that is our investment thesis. We're not worried about the year-to-date price action like some people in the comment section are saying here of what strategy has done. We're looking at where is strategy going to be 4 years or 5 years from now. Where's Bitcoin going to be 4 to 5 years from now? That's how we're looking at this investment. So let me know what you guys think about the price action of strategy as of late. Do you think it's going to bounce back, or do you think MNAV is going to continue to compress? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And going to go ahead and get into Bitcoin here a bit. Looking at the Bitcoin ETF flows over the past 2 days, had some more outflows, had outflows the entire week. Not really good to see there from the Bitcoin ETFs. This is why the price was going down in basically the entire week. Obviously, Friday we had a little bit of a turnaround just because of all the euphoria from everything that Jerome Powell was talking about and interest rate cuts potentially coming in the future. So there was a lot of hype around that. That's why Bitcoin rallied. But what's really interesting here is the Ethereum ETF flows over the past 2 days. While Bitcoin has been doing outflows, Ethereum did $500 million of inflows. I want to talk about this for a second. I know a lot of you guys may not even own Ethereum. If you do, congratulations if you've gotten some recent gains here. But I'm going to give you guys my long-term thoughts on Ethereum, because the reason why Ethereum is pumping, in my personal opinion, is because Tom Lee has his company, his Ethereum treasury company. And you can see here, this is the name of the company, Bitmine Immersion Technologies, and they've done really well. And what they're doing is they're basically doing what MicroStrategy did with Bitcoin, but with Ethereum. And there's some other Ethereum treasury companies out there like asst, and these companies have done really well over the past year or year to date. They're doing really, really well, and Ethereum has done really well. And Tom Lee has been the main spokesperson for Ethereum. And with Tom Lee, he has been hitting predictions like on the nose for Bitcoin over like the past 2 to 3 years. He's been saying, oh, we're going to bounce back and Bitcoin's going to do this. And he's been very to a T, and he's been on MSNBC, and he has a pretty big following with Fundstrat, and a lot of people respect his opinion. So when he comes on interviews and he says, "I think there's a very high probability that Ethereum will flip Bitcoin," people go and look at what is Ethereum's market cap, what is Bitcoin's market cap, and they're like, "Well, we need to get some Ethereum because Ethereum has a lot more room to grow versus Bitcoin." But from being in the space for over 8 years now, we've heard this since we've gotten into Bitcoin and crypto. We heard that Ethereum was going to flip Bitcoin. And I just don't think people are really realizing where everything's actually happening. All of the companies, all of the countries, all of the high net worth individuals, they're going towards Bitcoin. Not saying nobody's buying Ethereum, but there's no strategic Ethereum reserves by any country. Not that I know of. Maybe there's something that I'm missing there. And it's completely different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is digital gold, it's the hardest asset in the world. With Ethereum's kind of like this decentralized computer that you don't really need a middleman. And I think there is some good use cases for Ethereum. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're just two completely different things. And I think people are overvaluing what Ethereum could be worth versus, but everything could become denominated in Bitcoin eventually. And that's going to be eventually quadrillions of dollars of value, which could be priced in BTC. So the long-term perspectives of Bitcoin versus Ethereum, I think, is just a little different. And Tom Lee talking about Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin. I personally don't think that's going to happen. But if you guys think it will, tell me why I'm wrong in the comment section below. And this is not the first time Tom Lee has jumped on a bandwagon. He was talking about Bitcoin BSV back in 2020. So if you look at where BSV is today, you can obviously see that coin hasn't really done too well. This was one of the most hyped coins back in 2020, but obviously it hasn't really done anything since then. That's what Tom Lee was talking about. And one thing I do want to say here, guys, is during these Bitcoin bull markets, there's always people that come out and they get the spotlight. Like back in 2021, it was Plan B. He was calling Bitcoin's price prediction by the month. Like he had a tweet that he put out and he said, this is going to be Bitcoin's price. And for like 4 months in a row, he was hitting those prices consistently. But then there was a point in time where Bitcoin went through that bear market and his predictions were completely wrong. So don't take anybody's opinion like Tom Lee or anybody else for face value because they've been correct in the past. Just because they've been correct in the past doesn't mean they will continue to be correct in the future. And we've seen that time and time again in the Bitcoin space. Even if you go back 2017, 2018, there was some people on forums talking about the Bitcoin price and they got it right. But then like they were saying there was going to be 100,000 Bitcoin back in 2017. And that obviously never happened when you get $100,000 Bitcoin in 2017. And also during the bear markets, we got Capital of Crypto who called the bear market perfectly, but then he didn't buy the bottom and people kind of shamed him. He was even still very bearish and Bitcoin was at like 50,000 and went to 70. Now it's at 100 and he was being, so yeah, just because Tom Lee's been right in the past doesn't mean he's going to be right in the future. So I think you should just invest in things that have long-term potential. That's not financial advice, guys. This is just my opinion, just from being in the space. But to get into some Bitcoin news, we have the Philippines here. They're looking to buy 2,000 Bitcoin a year for 5 years with 10,000 BTC total. So this is what the Philippines could potentially do here. And they're looking to hold Bitcoin for a long period of time to help out their economy, to help out their national reserve. So this is really good to see. This is definitely going to be good for Bitcoin. And we can see more countries do this as well. Just recently saw Brazil. They're even looking to buy $19 billion of Bitcoin for their Bitcoin strategic reserves. So some of these countries are looking to get off of zero when it comes to BTC. And then this is a Bitcoin index performance since the halving, as you can see right here. And you can see this white line right here is where we're at currently in 2025. And if you look at where we're at now versus the past halving cycles, you can see that we're in the range of Bitcoin top. So we could potentially get a Bitcoin top here in Q4. We could potentially be getting a Bitcoin top here right now. Personally, I don't think we're in a top, and this time it is a little bit different with the Bitcoin ETFs, with countries buying Bitcoin, with the United States government actually getting legislation out there to be positive for crypto and Bitcoin. So this time is a little bit different. But if history is any indicator here, you can see that Bitcoin could be topping very soon, or may have already topped. So something to think about there. And then we have Eric Trump. He predicts Bitcoin will surpass $175,000 this year, and he calls himself a Bitcoin maxi. So that's really all I had for today's video. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys are buying more strategy at these prices, if you're selling, if you just hate strategy now. Let me know what you guys think. If you're buying Bitcoin, put all that in the comment section below. Really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. My name is Aaron from Bitcoin Bros. I'm out. See you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.